Israel, successful. Yeah, successful trip. It wasn't like super last minute, actually, my decision to race it. I think as soon as I'd had a not very good Kona, I kind of knew I'd want to do something else, but I wasn't entirely sure how it would go. I think like the training leading up to it had been a little bit mixed, with like a few days of illness, a few days of not being that motivated and all of the lovely winter weather here. But I guess I was just hoping that that kind of general fitness would carry over. The bike, it was clear, had the potential to be super fast. It's like all quite nice roads. It was just going around the lake. It was like slightly rolling, like a couple of kind of hills. I'd say in some ways it was kind of Kona-esque from that sort of general rolling, nothing steep, nothing big, 400 or 500 meters of elevation across the whole 180 kilometers. So yeah, like massive potential to be super fast. Swim in the lake, like most of the days leading up to the race, the lake was like completely calm, looked really nice. There's a couple of bits that didn't look that appealing to get into in terms of having a few like dead fish around getting in and out of the water. Actually, when we did our little practice swim, the water was really nice, it was warm. So we all thought it was definitely going to be a non-wetsuit swim. It was then raining and actually quite cold the morning of the race. They made the decision to make it wetsuit. Not entirely sure it was actually cold enough to be wetsuit. It was quite toasty in the wetsuit, but like for me, I'd probably prefer that than getting a bit cold in non-wetsuit. Yeah, so I guess race day itself, I was quite nervous because I guess I in my head, I was a bit like, if I have a good race, I think I should be able to win. But you obviously, like, it was a pretty strong field. You never really know what everyone else is going to do. Lots of people were in the same position of like either wanting to get redemption from Kona or, you know, someone like Indy was a bit of an unknown with her first Ironman. Yeah, so I was a bit like, I think I can win, but it's obviously like, I think in some ways that made me like a bit more nervous because I sort of had that expectation, and because I was so keen to end on like a positive note, I was like, it'd be nice if I could win. Race day morning before it started, trying to hide from the rain. Fortunately, the hotel was literally right next to transitions, so it was really easy to like just go down, put all the bits on my bike, go back into the hotel and chill for like an hour. So that made life a bit easier. Then it was time to kind of wander down. I decided not to just swim warm up just because it was a bit cold and we had to be out of the water like 20 minutes before the start. So I was like, I'm not going to stand around getting cold. And yeah, then got ready, went and lined up. I thought I'd put myself in quite a good position. I was kind of just to the right of Lottie and Indy, who I was expecting to go out really hard. And I was like, well, at least then I've got feet to jump on or a bit of clear space. But then I think it was Maya came and like stood just in between. And then when the gun went off, I thought I'd got quite a good start, but then there was basically one sighting buoy that was really far out to the left, and we'd watched all the men go out and go off towards it, and everyone had been like, why are they doing that? You can just go in a straight line. The women basically did exactly the same. It's like split, like the left-hand group to my left all started going off over there. The right-hand group were going straight. I was kind of in the middle and I was like, I don't know which group to go for. I'd thought about trying to hop over to the right because I was like, I think definitely the straight line is going to be better. But then the groups were starting to come together. So I was like, okay, I'll kind of stay here and then I should be able to hop on the back. And then basically as the groups came together, I got completely swum over and lost contact with the group. And that was basically where the swim all started going wrong. Most of the rest of that first lap, just trying to find anyone to kind of swim with. Did find someone, I'm not actually sure who it was at that point, but I just found that swim so tough. Like it was so choppy. There was the point going from the two like buoys that we turned around at the edge that was just like massive waves. You're just going like up and down, like you couldn't see anything. And I was definitely questioning, like, why am I still so bad at swimming? Why do I do triathlon? Shall I just pull out? This whole thing is there was a lot of negative talk going on that I had to turn around and be like, just get through the swim, then you can get on the bike and everything will be better. It got a little bit busier on the second lap with some of the age groupers, but actually it wasn't a massive field, so it wasn't too bad. I thought the swim was going to be worse with some of the pro men, just because it was such a big field. I thought it would be a bit more like Mallorca, where we actually ended up swimming through quite a lot of the back of the men's field, but that was actually fine. So yeah, got out onto the bike through, first of all, trying to not fall over and going through transition, because it was basically all on grass, which, because of how much rain we'd had, was like super slidey, and you basically ran from your bags down like a little bank, and it was just like a mudslide. So it's like sort of staggering down that, trying not to fall over. Got out, and at this point I'd seen that I'd come out with Daniela Blamel, which was like brilliant. Like, she's such a strong biker. So I was like, we can just work together to try and work our way back up towards the front. And we got told we had 6 minutes to the front. I think it was about 2 minutes to like the next kind of group. So yes, I was like, that's not too bad. Like, 6 minutes to the front is probably about what I'd expect to someone like Indy on a bad swim when I've not kept with the groups. And I know I've caught up that much time before. So I was like, right, just go with that. Daniela and I were starting to work together. We caught a little group, and then there was actually a male pro that came through. So I was like, right, I'm going to use him as my like target to follow to try and break away from this little group. I had him like 20-30 meters up the road and was just like, keep him in sight. So I wasn't really thinking too much about the power I was doing. I felt quite good. So I was like, I'm just gonna go reasonably hard. So I think probably that first sort of 30-40k I was doing closer to sort of 70.3 power than Ironman power, but felt pretty comfortable. So just kind of went with it. We then caught the sort of middle group, I think around 30-ish K. And again, I was like, I don't really want to just drag them around. So I went really hard past them. And then when we got to the first turnaround point, I'd seen Indy and Susie out front. And I was like, right, they're not that far ahead. And at that point, I think I had like just a minute left to catch them. So I was like, okay, if I put 5 minutes into you in that first bit, that's looking quite good. On the way back in, really big headwind, really hard work. Basically a couple of men helped drag back some of the group to that. So I kind of looked around, I was like, right, I've now got the whole group behind me again, brilliant. It's a bit frustrating in those races where the like Ironman just don't give the women enough time to have more of a fair race. Like, we literally had 2 minutes to the male pros ahead of us, and then I think it ended up being 5 minutes back to the age group men, which just isn't enough, like, especially in those kind of conditions, and it definitely has an impact on the race. Coming back out onto the second lap, I basically just sat up because I was like, I'm not going to do all the work on the front here, so I made some others come through and kind of recovered a bit at the back. Then decided I was just going to have to attack on the way back in, and I was like, I don't want to come in with a group of 5 people to be running, so put in a bit more of an effort. My power meter actually broke, so I was like, right, I'm just going to have to go off effort. So I was going off heart rate, trying to keep it around 150. And yeah, again, like, just felt good. Like, that kind of course where it's windy and I can just capitalise on being aero definitely suits me. So, and despite the rain and the cold and the not particularly pleasant conditions, I actually really enjoyed the bike. Like, I actually felt like I was kind of racing and it was fun. So got onto the run, and I got told that at that point I had 3 minutes on Daniela and Susie. Like, I would kind of back myself to be able to run at least with them generally on a good day. So I was feeling quite good at that point, just trying to settle into a good pace. But again, with that course, it was quite hard because it's like constantly up and down. Half of the roads were just like rivers of water because of how much rain there'd been. And it was quite busy because of having the 70.3 and the Ironman. So there was like lots of other people around. But yeah, just tried to like settle in, keep quite a good pace. Really wasn't feeling that great on the kind of second and third laps. And I think part of it with an Ironman is just, it's such a long day. You just start questioning kind of everything of like, why am I doing this? Why is it so long? Can I actually do it? So yeah, I had to keep being like, right, just get to like the next aid station and give myself a little target. So like, okay, well, when you're through halfway, then it's only 2 laps, and you basically just got to get through the third lap because the fourth lap is just kind of ticking it off. First lap, I'd basically been holding Daniela and Susie, and then I think I'd maybe put a bit of time into them, and then the second lap I was holding them, and then the third lap I started to pull away again. I was like, right, it's good. Now I'm starting to put time into them, should be fine. The run was tough. I didn't enjoy it as much as the bike, but it's kind of slightly easier to enjoy it more when you are winning. And seeing Patrick come running past so fast was ridiculous. Like, heard these footsteps coming up behind me, and I was like, who is that? And he came like absolutely flying past. So that was really cool. Really happy to put together like a kind of, I wouldn't say it's like complete race, because the swim was still terrible, but and like doesn't reflect where I know my swimming has kind of got to. But from a like bike and run perspective, I think that's PB power that I've done in an Ironman on the bike, and then obviously the best run I've put together, which on that kind of course. I mean, it was definitely missold as a race as being a fast, flat course, because the run was not flat at all. And the conditions obviously made it not the nice, warm day we were hoping for. But yeah, like generally really happy with it. Great to get the Kona slot ticked off. That's like, makes next year planning a lot easier. Good to be able to finish the season on a positive note.